You can watch the sunrise lift over one ocean and the sunset sink into another on the same day, and never drive more than 2 hours between them. The light comes up first over the Sea of Cortez, calm and shallow and warm. By evening, it falls into the colder, heavier Pacific on the far side of the same thin strip of rock. One mountain range, one road, and one breakfast in between. This is a place where the ground itself is narrow enough to hold 2 seas in the same morning. This is the story of how people live on a sliver of desert, pinned between 2 oceans, where distance, water, and what the land allows decide nearly everything. This is Baja California. From 1,000 meters up, the peninsula does not look like a country. It looks like a crack in one. A long, crooked finger of land peels away from the Mexican mainland and reaches more than 1,200 kilometers south into the Pacific, second only to the Malay Peninsula in length. For most of that distance, it stays improbably thin. Brown spine, blue on both edges. The desert runs right down to the salt line on either side, so the land reads as a single dry ridge laid across the water, with no soft margin between rock and sea. The first thing a newcomer notices is not the view. It is the air, dry enough to crack your lips on the drive down from Tijuana, carrying wood smoke from someone's morning fire, and underneath it, always the faint mineral smell of brine. 2 seas breathing on you at once. And that is the tension that governs every life here. There is too much sea and not nearly enough water. The oceans give Baja its fish, its salt, its whales, its reason to exist, and they give almost nothing a person can drink. Everything else follows from that single, hard fact. If a place pinned between 2 seas is the kind of geography that pulls at you, a quick tap of the like button helps more curious travelers find their way down here. Then we'll keep going. The peninsula is not standing still. It is leaving. Baja rides the Pacific Plate, and that plate is dragging the whole spine of land northwest by 4 to 5 centimeters a year, about the speed your fingernails grow. Slow, patient, unstoppable. The Sea of Cortez on its inner edge is the wound this drifting opened. It is a rift that tore the peninsula loose from the mainland somewhere between 6 and 9 million years ago. The sea did not exist, and then the land split, and then the sea came in to fill the gap. Hold that timescale for a moment. 6 million years. The granite backbone running down the middle of Baja cooled deep underground long before there was a Gulf of California, before there was a peninsula at all, before any human stood on a beach and watched both sunsets. The land here is old. It remembers being part of something larger, and it is still in the act of leaving. This is the part outsiders get wrong. Baja is not a single empty desert with a beach at the end of it. That is the postcard: sand, cactus, a margarita in Cabo. The truth is stranger. One narrow strip of land stacks 4 worlds back to back. In the north, in the Sierra de San Pedro Mártir, Picacho del Diablo rises 3,096 meters. High enough that snow falls near the summit in winter, while desert bakes a few miles below. That one peak splits the weather in 2. Pine forest and cool fog on the Pacific side, scorching dry heat on the other. Pine peaks, cactus desert, sleeping volcanoes, and the shallow lagoons where gray whales come to give birth, all on the same crooked finger of rock. The coastline is the gift the drifting left behind. By tearing free of the mainland, the peninsula handed Mexico a second edge. Roughly 2,230 kilometers of new shoreline, close to 22% of the country's total coast. 2 completely different seas, one wild and one calm, wrapped around a single ridge of stone. And so the day begins, as it has for generations, with someone walking down to the water before the heat arrives. A fisherman pushing a small open boat off the sand on the Cortez side, where the sea is still flat and silver. Above him, the same desert ridge that splits the rain, holds the snow, and points northwest at 4 centimeters a year, leaving, always leaving, while the people on it stay. Because everyone here, whoever they are and however long they have been here, lives the same arithmetic. The sea is close. The mountains are close. The other sea is 2 hours away. And fresh water, the one thing this drifting strip of desert cannot make for itself, is the thing every life is quietly built around. Walk down to the same shoreline at noon, and the gift turns to threat. The sea that hands Mexico its second edge cannot be drunk. A man can stand waist deep in the Pacific and die of thirst. Salt is not water. The whole peninsula lives inside that sentence. This is the second arithmetic of Baja, and it is harder than the first. The land is wrapped in sea on every side, and almost none of it can keep a person alive. Rain is the scarce thing. In the Vizcaíno desert, in the dry heart of the peninsula, rain falls at a rate of about 5 centimeters a year, roughly 2 inches. That places it among the driest stretches of land in North America. Some years, it forgets to come at all. And yet, the seeds are patient. They wait in the sand for years, sometimes decades, holding their whole lives in reserve. When a rare wet winter finally arrives, the Vizcaíno turns green inside a week. Flowers open across ground that had looked dead since the last visitor passed through. The desert is not barren. It is asleep, and it knows exactly how long to sleep. That patience is the local genius, and people have learned it from the plants. Here's the strange part. The more water a place is denied, the more carefully it keeps the little it is given. In Baja, water is not a utility. It is a destination. Look to the north, where the peninsula joins the mainland, and you find the cautionary tale. The Colorado River once emptied here into a delta that ran close to 3,000 square miles, wetlands thick with birds and fish, fed by a river the size of a continent's drainage. Today, most of that delta is salt flat. The water was taken upstream, dam by dam, field by field, in another country, until barely a trickle reached the sea. One traveler who saw the river near Algodones, expecting something mighty, found a stream he could nearly step across and called it depressing, which is the honest word. A delta the size of a small nation, gone in a few generations of upstream thirst. So the peninsula learned not to count on rivers. It learned to count on springs. Drive the central spine, and the desert will, without warning, hand you an oasis. In San Ignacio, water rises from the ground in the middle of nothing and pools into something almost unbelievable. A river you can kayak in the dry heart of one of the driest places on the continent. Travelers stay in round, tented yurts beside it and paddle past date palms that have no business standing in a desert. The Spanish missionaries who came here 3 centuries ago did not choose the spot for the view. They chose it because the water was already there. Water decides where a settlement can exist. Further south, the same logic built Mulegé. A spring-fed river splits the town in two and lines its banks with palms. And around that ribbon of green, an old mission settlement grew and stayed. You feel it the moment you arrive. The air changes, the shade deepens, the engine noise drops away. By most accounts, almost nothing goes on in Mulegé, which is exactly its character. It is a place organized entirely around the presence of fresh water, the way the rest of Baja is organized around its absence. Have you ever lived somewhere where the supply of one ordinary thing decided the shape of your whole week? Tell us in the comments. We read them. Because for everyone else on the peninsula, water is something you carry. The drivers who run Highway 1 from the border south know the arithmetic by heart. You space your fill-ups. You do not pass a station with half a tank and assume there will be another one soon, because there may not be one for hours. Veterans of the road pack extra cans of gasoline and jugs of water for the long, empty stretches, where the tank, dropping below half, starts to make a person paranoid. One traveler described the unease perfectly, driving so long without seeing anyone that the gauge becomes a kind of clock counting down. This is the daily texture of a place wrapped in water it cannot drink. The sea is always there, blue and enormous, and useless to a thirsty mouth. The rain comes once in a long while, and the seeds wake up. And between the two, people carry what they need in cans and jugs and build their towns where the springs already rise. The Vizcaíno gets 2 inches a year and waits. The drivers carry their own. And the long gray ribbon of Highway 1 runs south through all of it, the road that ties this scattered, thirsty country together. A car has no business being 70 miles from the next human being, and yet that is exactly where Highway 1 will put you. From Tijuana to Cabo San Lucas is a 3-day drive, and before anyone here gives you a single tip about hotels or beaches or where to find the best fish taco, they tell you one thing first: do not drive at night. There is good reason for it. The road that ties this whole peninsula together is a single gray ribbon of 2-lane asphalt, and in most places, the lanes are narrow enough that a wide truck and a wide bus passing each other will both pull their mirrors in. There are no streetlights. There are no median barriers. There is no shoulder to speak of, only the drop into desert. And the desert is full of things that walk onto warm pavement after dark. Cattle wandered off a ranch, a coyote, a burro standing motionless in the lane. After sundown, the headlights show you a few seconds of road and nothing behind it. Veterans of this drive simply stop where they are, find a town, and wait for the light. That town, that next one, is the whole problem. Highway 1 was only finished in 1974. Before that, past Ensenada, the road turned mostly to dirt, and reaching Cabo meant days of rutted track, blown tires, and a real possibility of being stranded somewhere no one would find you. The men who drove it then talk about it the way sailors talk about a hard crossing. When the pavement came through, it changed everything, and it changed it slowly, mile by mile, because the distances did not shrink. From the border, it is roughly 6 hours of driving to reach Guerrero Negro, the salt town at the line between the two Baja states. Then another long day south to Loreto, then a third to Cabo. 3 days if you do not stop to enjoy any of it, longer if you do. In between those marks on the map, the road empties out completely. People who have driven it describe an hour, 2 hours, of seeing no other vehicle at all. Only Cardon cactus standing 60 feet tall, the Vizcaíno stretching flat to the horizon, and the gauge dropping toward half. And then, on a stretch with no town for 50 miles in either direction, you come around a bend, and there is a man under a tarp with a chest freezer full of ice, selling cold cans of Pacifico beer. No store behind him, no house, just the freezer, the ice, and the certainty that someone, eventually, will come down this road thirsty. It is the most Baja thing imaginable. The desert offering you the one cold drink it has in the middle of nowhere for cash. The road breeds its own kind of courtesy. For decades, the highway was patrolled by the Ángeles Verdes, the Green Angels, government trucks painted green that drove the lonely stretches looking for stranded cars. They carried fuel, water, basic parts, and men who knew how to use them. And they did it for the price of the gasoline or nothing at all. They are part of why the drive lost its terror. But the deeper safety net was never the trucks. It was the locals. Drive this road long enough and you will collect a story about a breakdown in the middle of nowhere. No cell signal, no town, and a Baja family who stopped, sized up the problem, and went hours out of their own way to fix it or tow you to someone who could. People who have done this drive 30 times will tell you that what they remember is not the fear. It is the kindness of strangers on an empty road. Have you ever driven a road so empty that the fuel gauge became the most important thing in the car? Where the next station, not the next town, was what you planned your whole day around? If you have, we'd like to hear where. Drop it in the comments. We read them. Because that is what the road teaches, finally. You learn to top off the tank when it hits half, never below. You learn to carry water. You learn to leave early so the long, open stretch falls in daylight and the town arrives before dark. You stop measuring the trip in hours and start measuring it in fill-ups, in safe places to stop, in distance to the next human being. The highway does not let you forget that this is a thin land, surrounded by water it cannot give you, and that everything you need, you carry. And the people you pass carry the same things, the same cans, the same jugs, the same calculation of where to be when the sun drops. Some are locals who were born to it. More and more, they are not. Because the road that was paved in 1974 did not only let drivers reach Cabo, it let Cabo reach the rest of the world. The smell hits before anything else. Walk into the Mercado Negro in Ensenada at noon, and the air is thick with frying fish, lime, hot oil, salt off the water just outside the door. A woman drops a battered fillet into a basket of oil, and it spits and crackles. This is where the fish taco was, by most accounts, invented. A slab of cod or mahi in beer batter, fried gold, folded into a corn tortilla, dressed with shredded cabbage, a pale crema, a squeeze of lime. People who have eaten street food on 5 continents come back to Ensenada and Tijuana and admit, a little reluctantly, that the best they ever had was here, handed across a cart for the price of a bus ticket. You would think a fish is a fish, but Baja is a thin spine of land between 2 seas. And the 2 seas do not agree on anything. Not their temperature, not their color, not what they are willing to give a fisherman in the morning. On the Pacific side, the water is cold and gray and angry. The current that runs down this coast is the same one that chills San Francisco, and it does not warm as it comes south. The waves break hard against rock. The men who fish here go out before light in open fiberglass boats called pangas, 22 feet, an outboard motor, no cabin, no shelter. And they read the swell the way a farmer reads the sky. This is rough work. A panga does not forgive much. But the cold water is rich water, and it gives up yellowtail, halibut, the rock cod that becomes the taco. Cross the peninsula, 2 hours, sometimes less, and you are on the Sea of Cortez, and it is a different planet of water. Calm, clear to 30 feet, warm enough to swim by April. Jacques Cousteau called it the aquarium of the world, and the name stuck because it was true. Here the pangas slip out onto a sea that looks like glass, and the fishing is closer to gathering than to battle. 2 seas, 2 tables, Two entirely different mornings for two men who might be cousins. Drive the toll road south of Tijuana and you reach Puerto Nuevo, a village that built its entire name on a single dish. The story locals tell is that fishermen's wives, decades ago, started serving the day's lobster split and fried in lard to the men driving down to Ensenada. Lobster, rice, beans, fresh flour tortillas, a plate set down beside the surf. The road brought hungry drivers. The drivers brought money. Now there are dozens of restaurants where there were once a few kitchens, all serving the same plate, the Puerto Nuevo style. And the lobster is gone from the local rocks and trucked in to meet the demand. That, too, is what paving a road does. Further south, on the Sea of Cortez, sits the village that did the opposite, and it is the one worth remembering. Cabo Pulmo was a fishing settlement on a reef. By the 1990s, the reef was nearly dead, fished flat, the nets coming up emptier each season. The families who lived there made a decision that should have been impossible for people who eat what they catch. They stopped. They banned all fishing and turned their water into a protected park. And then they waited, with no guarantee it would work. Within roughly a decade, the fish biomass on that reef had increased by more than 460%. Sharks came back. Sea turtles came back. Schools of fish so dense they move like weather. A handful of families, by giving up the thing that fed them, brought a dead sea back to life. Have you ever lived somewhere where the water decided what you ate that night? Where dinner depended on what the sea was willing to surrender at dawn? We'd like to hear about it. Drop it in the comments. We read them. Because the sea here is not only generous. In the far north of the Gulf, in the shallow brown water near the vanished Colorado Delta, swims a porpoise called the vaquita. Small, shy, found nowhere else on Earth. There are fewer than 10 left. They drown in gill nets set illegally for another fish. And no amount of conservation has yet outrun the math. Cabo Pulmo shows what a village can save when it chooses to. The vaquita shows what gets lost when no one does, or when they decide too late. So the table here is set by the water, and the water sets two of them. One, cold and rough and gray, giving up its catch only to men who will fight it. One, warm and clear and patient, holding its fish close to the glassy surface. A fisherman in Apanga learns which sea he was born to, and he reads it every morning of his life. The swell, the wind, the price of diesel, the distance to the next boat. He carries his own water out. He brings the fish back in. And the road that carries the lobster north, the road that brought the drivers and the money, is bringing something else now too. People who come not to fish, but to stay. Apanga reads the same sea every morning, but the road, once it is paved, reads nothing. It just carries. And what it carries north now is not only lobster and the men who chase marlin out of Loreto. It carries people coming the other way, down the long peninsula, looking for the thing the fisherman already has, a place set apart from the rest of the world. Walk a couple of miles outside Los Cabos in the early 80s, and you would have found dirt roads, power that came and went with no warning, and groceries that arrived when the truck arrived and not before. The people who lived that way did not describe it as hardship. They describe it now, decades later, as the best years of their lives. There was a bar in Cabo with no roof. There was no boat harbor at all, just sand, and a few pangas hauled up past the tide line. A man who learned to dive there in 1990 still talks about reefs and seamounts that no one had touched. Cabo San Lucas was a fishing town into the 1960s, small enough that the airport sat where the harbor sits now. A traveler in those years remembered it as nothing, a few buildings, a place gringos on the run could disappear into. The road that ended this isolation was finished in 1973. Before then, to reach the tip, you drove 3 days on track that punished trucks and turned cars back. Here is the strange part. Most longtime residents do not point to the highway as the moment Baja changed. They point to the groceries. Ask them when the old Baja ended, and many will name a year, around 2005, and a single arrival. The big grocery stores, then Walmart. One man who came down every year for 15 years stopped after 2008, and the reason he gives is not crime or cost, but commerce. The quiet fishing villages became something you could resupply without thinking. And once you could resupply without thinking, the thinking left. The line he uses is blunt. It ruined it. This is the quiet engine of the whole peninsula now. Distance kept Baja rare. Pavement and supply chains are slowly closing the distance. The people closing it are, in large numbers, Americans. More Americans live in Mexico than in any other country on Earth, and a great many of them have settled here, on this thin spine, where the desert is cheap and the sea is warm and the flight home is short. They build off-grid houses on bluffs above the Sea of Cortez. They turn former fishing camps into retirement communities that fill with kite surfers and free divers from November to April, then half empty when the heat comes. One of them, writing from a place he calls Rancho Sueño Azul, describes it without irony as La Pura Vida, the pure life. For the people who are already here, the newcomers are not the enemy. They are the economy. The Mexican families of Baja Sur make jewelry from shells and silver and sell it to the rich who drive over from the resorts. They run the small spas, the hotels, the thatch-roofed restaurants where you order the catch of the day, swim while it cooks, and get waved back in when it is ready. A Chilean woman and her partner from Aguas Calientes run a jewelry shop down south, raising 2 children on what the tourists buy. They call it peaceful. They call it safe. The visitor's money and the resident's craft are 2 halves of the same arrangement, and most days it holds. Have you ever watched a place you loved change faster than you could keep up with? Where the thing that drew you in was the first thing to go? If you've lived through that, in Baja or anywhere, tell us about it in the comments. We read every one. Because the fear here is not the retiree with the kiteboard. The fear is bigger, and it comes from the same direction the road does. Up and down the coast, residents have begun organizing against outside investors who buy remote beaches and announce massive hotel complexes. The kind that arrive on land that small villages have used and loved for generations, on coves with no name on any map. One resident's plea, written in Spanish under a documentary, asks the world to join the movement against what she calls predatory investors who destroy without respect. The request underneath it is simple. Declare these places protected. Keep them out before they privatize the coast and sell it back as a view. This is the arithmetic of a paved peninsula. Every kilometer of road that brings a doctor closer, that brings water and supplies and the green angels who tow you out of trouble, also brings a man with a survey and a plan for 2,000 rooms on a beach that until now belonged to no one and everyone. You cannot keep one and refuse the other. The same asphalt carries both. And so the question that hangs over every cove and every dusty main street is the oldest question on this land. What does the desert allow, and what does it merely tolerate until someone with enough money passing along is how a channel like this survives. Then stay a moment longer, because the closing belongs to the place, not to us. What a life is worth here was never measured in money. It is measured in distance, to the next gas station, the next well that still holds water, the next town where someone knows your name and waves you down to ask after your family. A man drives 6 hours to bring his daughter to a doctor and counts it a normal Tuesday. A fisherman reads the sky the way a city reads a clock. Wealth, in a place like this, is the half tank you didn't need but had, the stranger who stopped, the cove that nobody has bought yet. It is reckoned in arrivals, in making it, one more time, to the thing you set out for. So end where the whales end, in the warm, shallow water at the bottom of a peninsula, tearing slowly away from everything it was joined to. Night falls over Laguna San Ignacio, and away from the few scattered lights of the fish camps, the sky fills with more stars than anyone living there has ever bothered to count. The same sky the cardon cactus has stood under for 300 years. The same sky a child on the road to Cabo once tried to draw from a moving car. Below it, a gray whale rolls once at the surface, breathes, and sinks back into the dark to wait out the night with her calf. She has crossed an ocean to be here. In the morning, she will lift her head to a boat full of strangers and let them touch her and forgive a debt no one ever asked her to forgive.